Welcome to the Screen Guide Pod, a podcast aimed at bringing context, commentary, and conversations to the award shows that you love. I'm your host, Daniel.
And I'm Derrick, simiviews.
Today we're going to be introducing ourselves, talking about the goals of our new podcast, and discussing the 2026 Oscars race.
We're first going to start off by introducing ourselves. My name is Derrick simiviews. I am on TikTok, I'm on Instagram, and I love talking about movies. Social media is a place that I get to communicate that, and now I get to do this on this podcast. I've always had a love for movies, starting off since I was young. Really got this from my dad, who has introduced me to a lot of Westerns and Bollywood films. And then growing up, loved animation, loved thrillers, started to get into horror and other genres. And some of those films that have really spoken to me over the years have been movies like 12 Angry Men that have really opened up my world to what movies can say about reality in the spaces that we live. And it has incredible blocking and technical filmmaking. And so that's a film that has really gotten me to love movies. And through that, I've gotten to talk about the context of movies on a wider stage with you all on social media. Recently gotten to do press at Sundance and at other film festivals. And this podcast, I hope, is going to be a place to just get these longer form thoughts down to you all.
And I'm Daniel, and I'm an actor turned therapist turned content creator who believes in the power of art. You know, I turned to this during the pandemic. I turned to movies as a way to bring hope to everyone. And Derrick and I, we bonded on social media. We became friends on social media and figured we should have a place where we can share our thoughts in a deeper way than just a 5 to 10 minute video. My favorite kind of movies in history are noirs or neo-noirs, these kind of like dark, crimey, grimy films. But I also love a good Technicolor film. I love a film that brings heart, that brings message. I mean, the first film, whenever someone asks me what my favorite movie is The Red Shoes by Pressburger and Powell, this beautiful Technicolor ballet. And I think all of these types of movies, whether it's the movies that Derrick was talking about when it comes to like 12 Angry Men or The Red Shoes, these movies in history, or even some of our favorite movies of today, they mean so much. They have something to say. They're all connected. And we're hoping that here on the podcast, we can highlight those connections for you, that we can talk about them together, that we can argue about them, and we can make you think about art or make ourselves think about art in a way that we haven't before.
It's really that deep. I think that's something we had mentioned as a name for this podcast of things are deeper than it seems. And I think in this post I don't know what people say. It's not intellectual enough.
This post-intellectual way? Yeah, for sure.
I feel like we want to bring depth back into talking about movies. And people do that in different spaces. But we just want to harbor and foster that conversation even more here.
100%. And we're going to peel back the onion layer, but we're going to have fun doing it. So don't take our idea that film is that deep to say that we're going to be these two serious people wearing suits. We are still Derrick and Daniel having fun talking about movies, understanding that some of the connections between them are going to be serious. They're going to be deep. They're going to be deadly. And some of them are going to be the most hilarious, ridiculous. I don't know about that, but like, I just
was dying on the podcast. Okay.
I mean, look, that's why people need to tune in to find out. Either way, the conversations are going to, we're hoping to have fun, but we're also hoping to stir something in you, to stir something in ourselves so that we can, have a space here to talk about films and why they're so important.
Yeah. I mean, I've been super pumped to kind of talk about this first episode of the pod.
Sure.
I've been excited for. There's a lot of ideas here. We're talking about the Oscars, people. We're diving in. It's coming out in March. You know the dates better than I do. You are an award show expert.
Mid-March, 13th, 15th. Don't quote me.
But we're talking about the Oscars. We're going to talk about Best Picture lineup. We're going to be talking about our favorite categories, the wins we'd hate to see and the wins we'd love to see. And so let's get into the Oscars.
Yeah, of course. The Oscars are coming up, as Derrick said, and we are knee deep in award shows that already have been happening. We're recording this about a month after, or a little like 3 weeks after the Oscar nominations have come out. and DGAs have recently happened. We've already had Critics' Choice, Gotham's. We're going to be talking through, in general, Best Picture, but Oscar feelings in general. If you're looking for our predictions, that's not this episode. That's going to be a future episode. That's a little like tease
Coming
for the
soon.
future. Coming soon once we do our research. No, we've done some of our research, but
I
coming
was
soon
about to
once
say, you
once we know
probably already
more.
have your wins already locked in, I'm sure.
I mean, I'm the one who chose them. So if you don't like the winners, like if you look back since I was born, I chose every single winner. Wait,
Right,
that's
right,
not
right.
good. But
Oh no. Green
so
book.
so
All right. Crash.
well,
We
look,
can blame Daniel.
we can look Crash, which we did. We watched Crash in in my class in grad school. This is how much I went to Northwestern to get a master's in counseling, and we watched Crash in one of our classes. It was the most ridiculous conversation because half of us were like, why are we watching Crash? But Crash is not nominated this year, although some of us might have feelings that Crash maybe was nominated this year.
Right.
Let's go through the Best Picture lineup here. This is in no particular order. We have F1, Frankenstein, Train Dreams, Hamnet, Begonia, Marty Supreme, The Secret Agent, Sinners, One Battle After Another, and Sentimental Value. That is our 10. I mean, Derek, are there things that are missing? What are your thoughts here? Like, I actually don't know. I don't know a lot of your thoughts on these Big Ten.
Yeah. Well, I kind of enjoy them. I think the part about award season, I've really kept up, I think, more this season than I've had in the past. We've
Sure.
seen some of these nominations, and I think some of these wins may be a little bit predictable. And there's not really any surprises and snubs. The only one that I think a lot of people were surprised about, for the most part, is F1. I
Yeah,
think that
yeah, yeah.
was always on the cusp of a lot of people's lists. But I think when we come to know who votes for these awards and knowing the industry, F1 should have probably been more of a lock than we kind of anticipated. And so I like this 10. The two films and one film specifically, No Other Choice, Park Chan-wook, my guy. You should be in here.
It
My
was never
favorite
going to
movie.
happen.
I know. I was not super disappointed because I knew it wasn't going to happen. But the other one I really was surprised to not see was Maybe It Was Just an Accident. I think Jafar Panahi's film, it's a film that is super powerful and poignant and speaks to the current moment that we're living in. And I think that's a film I maybe would have liked to see over an F1, maybe even over Frankenstein, if we're being honest. But
Definitely.
uh, those are you didn't like Frankenstein, really?
No. Look. Frankenstein. It was going to be there. It was going to be there. But like, if I look at this list, I have, I would say, only three films, two films on this list above It Was Just an Accident on my personal ranking. And I was doing these like top 10 predictions since September, and I had It Was Just an Accident on my list every single month. I did it once a month, and I had it there every single time. The F1 I should have expected, especially with the PGA nomination and the technical ability of F1. They invented new cameras for this. So I'm not necessarily, again, we shouldn't be surprised, but I think that It Was Just an Accident nomination would have meant a lot. I think we now only have two chances to see Jafar Panahi on the stage, and I don't think we will see Jafar Panahi on the stage. And so I think it would have just been really cool to have him up there. He was there for the Golden Globes. He's been in so many of these races, and having him missing, it feels like an elephant in the room of having him missing both director and best picture here, especially because in general the Cannes winner has been a lock for something. I mean, Honora won last year
Yeah.
coming from Cannes, and so I think I was disappointed for that. And then both of us have No Other Choice at 5 stars. Like, a No Other Choice nomination here would have been super cool. I just
I
the
can't. I can't.
Oscars, the Oscars hate Park Chan Wook. Like
They
I
do.
don't want it to be
That's
personal, whether it's the WGA strike, whether it is like that issue, but like it goes back further than that. He was in WGA when Handmaiden was not nominated. He was in WGA when Decision to Leave wasn't nominated. And I would actually argue that Decision to Leave is maybe the most approachable and or feels
Yeah.
like the biggest like Oscar package. And No Other Choice felt like it had a higher chance than that with the amount that Neon was pushing it out. But
And they still are.
maybe, I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, they definitely still are. I just feel like maybe Neon spread themselves too thin. Maybe Park Chan Wook burned
Yeah.
some bridges. Either way, he's not in anywhere. Audio recording, editing, directing, he's not there. And instead, we have not a bad lineup of films.
It's
I
not.
do think there's two sneaks. Like I wouldn't have Frankenstein in, frankly. I think the technical achievement here makes sense. I think the relationship with Guillermo del Toro is clear here, even though he didn't get director nom. And then F1 does seem like the thing that most people on the internet are up in arms with.
Yeah. And I've gone on record in saying I kind of defend F1. It's like you said, the technical achievements of F1 really, and I love filmmaking and cameras, and I love that aspect of movies. And I think for some people, when they think of F1, they just think of, oh, it made a lot of money, which I don't know how much it really made. I don't know if it went bonkers. I think more than most films,
Yeah, I think it made like
I'd say.
600 million.
Yeah.
Once we have a researcher on our budget, we can definitely have those all that
Yeah,
stuff here. But yeah, I
someone to
think
pull in, like, come in. But I think it made probably the most amount of money on this list, if I'm looking at the list correctly. And so I think that's a film that part of why the Best Picture went to 10 films in general. You kind of get these blockbusters in there as well. And so I understand the pick, and I'm not as upset maybe as literally every time I look. The more I look at Frankenstein, the more I'm like, I look at it sideways. I'm like, we just kind of stuck that in there. We already have a Netflix movie with Train Dreams. We could live without Frankenstein.
and like this might disappoint you, but I would also be okay without Train Dreams on this list. Look,
Hey, whoa,
I know this
whoa,
is our
that's
first
me.
episode.
That's
I
me.
don't want to make enemies
Whoa,
with you.
what? We could stop the pod right now. What are you talking about?
Well, no, okay, so
Train
look,
Dreams hate already?
no, not Train Dreams hate. Train Dreams, I think it was a pretty good theater experience. I think it's a pretty good film. I understand why it's here. It feels
Pretty good.
look, I have my qualms between like the films that like Clint Benny has worked on. I would rather have another film on like last year with Sing Sing would have been a lot cooler to have like a Train Dreams adjacent film here. Um, but Train Dreams, yeah, I know that it like made you feel. To me, I didn't feel a lot, and I think it's a visually stunning movie that falls into some tropes I don't really enjoy.
We could get into this conversation about so many other movies like Sentimental Value that also didn't move me. And one of the conversations people are having right now is Hamnet didn't move a lot of people. And
Sure.
I think when we get into the conversation of if it speaks to you, is that more powerful than the technical achievements and some of the things that it's doing in a film? I think that's why I like Train Dreams. But I also understand if it didn't work for you, it didn't work for you. Some of the diegetic aspects of the neighborhood. I get it. I get the critiques, but it's a Best Picture nominee. So, hey, look, we're living in the reality that Train Dreams is in there. So I'm happy about it. I'll still be
100%.
sad
And
about No Choice.
but what I love about talking about movies with you and talking about movies with a lot of the friends we've made is we have the ability to say, I get why it's there, even if we didn't like X element. So much of the internet has been narrowed down to these dialogues or conversations around this is the worst thing, this is the best thing. I mean, we have this happening in the conversation around One Battle After Another and Sinners, both of these films that have very vocal fans, but also extremely vocal detractors, where a lot of the internet mumbo jumbo, whether this is just narrowing it down to a 20-second TikTok video or a comment on a video, goes into like, this is the worst thing in the world. It does feel like we lose the nuance. So, what I'll say about Train Dreams and what you might say about Sentimental Value is that these films didn't land the way that we see them landing for other people. but we can understand why they're there. Like both of these nominations, which I think is very funny that like both of us have these like very personal films that are feel more family oriented, a little bit smaller than the bigger budget films that both landed us on us in different ways. Myself with Sentimental Value, my favorite movie of last year, Train Dreams for You. But we get it. We get why they're there. And that's really lacking with how people are talking about either the Hamnets, the One Battle After Another's, or the Sinners.
And we also understand why I don't know the voting body. I'm not part of the voting body for the Oscars,
You're
but I think
not?
we also maybe one day, maybe
One
soon.
day, one
Screen
day.
Guide Screen Guide Pod will be on there. But I think the we understand as well why people in the industry will also vote for these movies for a Best Picture nominee or even the technical categories. I think that's part of this conversation that I think is also missing. Of like, it's not just and I think maybe the Oscars have gotten they've always had a bad rep, and it's I'm not gonna defend the Academy Awards and say that they're perfect or great in
They've
any
never been
way.
problematic. Statement from the
They've
Screen
never,
Guide.
yeah. That's not what I'm gonna say, but I think recent years and them expanding what the voting body is and who can be in the voting body, and even giving, for lack of a better term, they are just understanding more about what people want to see at the Oscars and what the Oscars are about. And I think we're seeing that in this reflection of the 10. I actually like this. This is probably the one of the better lineups that we've had, I think, in recent years.
No, I definitely agree. I was going through the lineup of 10 with Lewis yesterday. That's Lewis Likes Movies. And some of these 10, like the 10 for Green Book, it's just like, oh, that was the 10, or the 10 for the artist year, like 2011. Like there are these like very goofy years, like the year that like American Sniper and Bohemian Rhapsody were nominated. Like what are we doing
What are we
here?
doing?
Three
Yeah.
Billboards being one of the like the movie with the highest chance at the Oscars. That's not necessarily a good Oscars year. I think that this is a really solid year. I mean, we haven't even mentioned Begonia, which snuck in there. Marty Supreme, Secret Agent. These three we didn't mention at all, and all of those are fun Oscar picks. Whether it is the Begonia coming in there with Yorgos Lanthimos' strange relationship with the Oscars. I think if you watch Dogtooth, you wouldn't say this guy's going to be an Oscar darling, even though that got nominated for international
Right.
feature. Mari Supreme being this kind of continuation of the Safdies, and then one of my favorite films of last year, The Secret Agent, getting a nom is really exciting.
Yeah, and I think The Secret Agent right now has the pull of being the best international winner at this point in time, at least for me. I think it has the momentum. It might be in a different space, but I think part of seeing this list, which is kind of concerning as well, is we're going back to this lack of international features at the Oscars. Um, Getting, I think it's two, seeing The Secret Agent and Sentimental Value on here. Um, would have loved to see some of that diversity, to say the least. But in this list, I know it's like, what would you add in and what would you take out? I think that's a
Easy.
conversation. Oh, well,
It's
yeah.
easy. We just had that at the beginning.
Yeah. Right.
But I think that's like partially is like who is getting these awards, who is getting these movies to the awards. So if we think about what got in Sentimental Value and Secret Agent, both of these films are Neon distribution. They're Neon, and then I think in other markets they're Mubi in Europe. And as long as we have these larger production companies not also trying to push international features in, I think it's gonna stay to 1 to 2, because when people look and they're going to vote and they see, oh, we can't have 4 Neon films in here. Like we already have the international feature lineup, which is Neon, 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 Neon. And the only other distribution company that I feel like is really doing well here is Janus, and Janus does not have the budget to get films up there. Like we're not going to see a resurrection at the Academy Awards. Beautiful film,
That
amazing
would be
film.
cool. That'd be
It would
awesome.
be sick. But then also we have to think about who the audience of the Academy Awards are, because we know Resurrection. Does the general public care about a Chinese film that is talking about the history of Chinese cinema through the senses of all the Buddhist like senses.
I think they would if
Okay,
they,
okay.
like I think we're slowly seeing this idea of watching more international features. But also speaking to the present moment, you're right. People would not care.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't. I mean, no one. I mean, I saw it. I went to see it in a packed out in an art house theater, but it didn't get like wide release. I saw it here. I mean, did you see it? Did it air near a theater near
Yeah,
you?
same art house theater, the Texas Theater. Shout out. It was packed out, but yeah, you're not going to see that probably at an AMC anytime soon.
Yeah, no. But there are some really cool categories this year. Some cool lineups that I was really excited about. I I think my favorite lineup this year is Best Supporting Actor.
Okay, who are some of the people that you're? I know we're not doing who we want to win, but who you pulling for? You
I mean,
gotta
okay,
you
so
gotta
who I'm
give us a
pulling
little
for, who I
tease.
want to win, same
Yeah, yeah.
thing. I'd love a Stellan, but I think the biggest surprise here was the Delroy Lindo, right? The Delroy Lindo love with both like kind of pushes Sinners out into the forefront and also makes a lineup that's kind of dynamic, kind of exciting. Having Delroy Lindo in there, having Stellan Skarsgård in there, Benicio del Toro for a second time up there and supporting. You know, we missed a Paul Mescal here, but I think Paul will be better for it in the long run. Winning Best Supporting Actor or Actress at a young age can be a death wish a little bit. And so
Yeah.
I like these nominations, especially for Stellan and Delroy. Um, if you notice, I didn't name one of the nominations, but I just think it's a fun lineup. But both this and supporting actress, I think, are more up in the air than most of the times they have been in the past, right? Like we knew Davine Joy Randolph was going to win. We knew that Zoe Saldana was going to win. We don't know who's going to win for best supporting actor or actress,
Yeah.
and that makes it more fun as someone who pays attention to this stuff.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think was it emerging artist Delroy was
Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah.
the interview, which is crazy knowing the body of work from the legend in the game. But anyway, aside from that, I think he was a good surprise. He was a
Yep,
pleasant surprise in this category, and I think speaks and we can talk we didn't really talk about Sinners in one battle after another, but I think
we
speaks
can get
to
into
maybe
it.
the strength of Sinners, and how the voting body and people I love Sinners, but I think a lot of people have been so dejected from knowing the history of the Oscars, whether it's
Sure.
horror and black cinema, to being like, Sinners, it's a long shot. The nominations came out, became the most nominated film in Oscars history, getting Delroy Lindo, getting Wumi Masaku, uh, such amazing performances. I was worried that it wasn't going to happen. There was no shot in the world, and to see that in this category is exciting, and once again makes me more. Um, it just is saying something about the Oscars and how it's evolving and changing, and I think the voting body is a reflection of that. I think they changed the rules a couple. I don't remember how many years ago when Oscars so white. That was the hashtag and the phrase, and they said, you know what, we have to change this, and I think we're seeing that year after year, and this one being the strongest of that.
No, 100%. And let's have the conversation about Sinners right now. I'm so excited for Sinners to get this amount of nominations, to be received this well. I think the day of, we automatically saw some upheaval from some very vocal minority folks of how upset they were at this. They're like, it's not that good, or even if it's like, I hear all the time like, I like it a lot, but it's kind of overrated. And I'm like, what does that mean? Just say that you like it. Can we just stand on the idea that you like it? Uh, and the 16, when you get upset about that, I just really don't. It's the forest for the trees thing. I don't think you're looking at what they got nominated for, because every single nomination they received is well received for a nomination. Do I think they should win all of these? I mean, it'd be cool, but I don't need that, right? Like, I think the nominations being recognized for these 16 are really cool. This is a really good lineup for a lot of these technical stuff when it comes to cinematography, editing. A lot of these, the awards that got nominated for, I would be okay with them winning, but I'd also be okay with cinematography for One Battle, cinematography for Marty Supreme. There are so many well-deserved nominations, and The Sinner's Love was so cool to see. And it could have been, we could have gotten a 17th, right? Like there was the ability to get Miles in there. Miles winning the Critics Rising Star Award. Miles being one of my two examples of why we need a Rising Star Award at the Oscars in general. Uh, but yeah, I mean, this movie, it's so good and it speaks to the time.
It does. Sinners is so good. I've seen Sinners 5 times.
Okay.
Saw it 3 times. How many times in theaters? I don't remember. But once in 70 millimeter. No, twice in 70 millimeter. Twice. One in digital. One in IMAX. I think one in Dolby. So I've seen it a lot. And Sinners was a moment. It was a movement. It got people excited to go back to the theaters. It made a lot more money than Variety and other people thought it was going to make. And that's a whole
That's a
other
whole
thing.
thing. That's a whole thing.
But I think this movie has felt like the underdog. Has always kind of felt like this underdog story. Should it be an underdog story? No. When you look at this movie in the powerhouse, and that's one of the things I wrote about this film was this on all cylinders. It's firing on all cylinders.
Sure.
It's firing on the technical aspects, the acting, the writing, the costume design. It's firing on all these cylinders. I think the nominations are so well deserved, and I think would love to see one of these big. I think when people talk about specifically 16 nominations, but is it going to win anything? I kind of understand where people are coming from when I think The Color Purple, for example, was a movie that was nominated for 10
Yeah.
Oscars and won zero. And so I think people see that once again the history of the Oscars and say black movies may be recognized with nominations, but will they actually win? And I say that's a good concern and a good worry, but I think Sinners is different than The Color Purple.
It is.
Color Purple, good film. Also, not Steven. It's Steven Spielberg. This is Ryan Coogler driven film. This is one of his babies that he's kind of birthed and given to the world. And so I think Sinners will win a lot more than people think. It's not mid. It's not overrated. Once again, you have to understand if you didn't like the film, that's okay. Articulate why you don't like the film. Don't just say it's From Dusk Till Dawn remake because that will not trigger me. But
Oh, are you triggered? No, I mean that just tells me everything I need to know about you. If you're like, this is From Dusk Till Dawn. Like, vampire stories can exist. Vampire stories with brothers can exist. These are not the same things. I think right now, and we'll get into predictions on a future podcast, but like, I do have a feeling that the only time we're going to see Ryan Coogler on that stage is with original screenplay. And I think there is a pattern to call out when it comes to black writers and screenplay wins, right? This happened with Cord Jefferson in American Fiction. This happened with Jordan Peele and Get Out. Like, these big films that could be awarded in so many other places, especially the Get Out win, but being relegated into the writing category. Now, the writing category rocks. It's one of what I consider one of the big three awards at the show. Like, I think that the writing, the directing, and best picture are the three that I look for out the most. Like, the acting is cool. Love the acting awards. But what I care about the most are who won for the writing, who won for the directing, and who won for best picture, because I think those tell us the most about like what those artists can do in the future as well. And if Coogler wins that, which I think there's a really high chance that he will win for best original screenplay, it'll just be a continued pattern of like, okay, this, you can't get best picture, you can't get best director, but you can have this.
yeah, and I think it's going to be such a like a interesting. It's been an interesting road up to the Oscars already, and we're kind of. I think maybe we're past some of the major awards
Yeah.
that have predicted and seen what we're going to see as winners in the upcoming Oscar race. But I think Yeah, I just want people to know that Sinners has a chance.
Yeah.
Like if you felt like me, where you're like Sinners didn't have a chance, and now you're seeing 16 noms, and you're still like, well, we don't know. I think this is a different race. I do think like you said, best director might go to Paul Thomas Anderson. Like there might be some of these wins if you're looking at what is happening right now with DGA and PGA and WGA, which I think are all legit.
Okay. You coming
I was
at the
like,
guilds? You don't like the
yeah. I was
guilds?
like, no, I like the guilds, but I was like, did I just make up like AGA? I don't know.
No, no.
Um, but yeah, I think Sinners, and then One Battle After Another, also being up there as well with its strength. And I may not, I have, more things to say about One Battle After Another, maybe more than Sinners. Uh, but I think that one also has strength and technical ability to win some of these awards and should win some of the things.
Well, here's the thing, Derek. You've been talking on the internet. You've been in the group text talking about your thoughts on One Battle After Another, some takes you have on it, and something I keep on saying in my mind, something I've said out loud is like, we just got to get you on a podcast to talk about those things. We got to get you airing those things, kind of, I don't know, maybe standing on business about your thoughts around One Battle After Another, a movie that I think you like. You just have some qualms about where it stands in the history. Again, going back to it is that deep element of this podcast. So I have my thoughts about One Battle,
Yeah.
but just because you were just talking about how you do have some more thoughts about this One Battle, I do think it makes sense for you to start out. Where does the Screen Guide Derek Simiviews co-host stand on One Battle After Another?
All right. I like One Battle After Another.
Sure.
It's a good movie. I
Yeah.
think technical achievement, direction, it looks good. The score, so good. Here's the thing about One Battle After Another that I was thinking of, and this is why I like this conversation. I want it to be a conversation.
Sure.
I was thinking about Best Picture winners specifically. I think One Battle After Another being the best movie of the year and being the winning Best Picture at the Oscars. I was thinking about other Best Picture nominees and other movies that people consider the best of that year. Green Book was an example of a movie that came to mind. I was like thinking Crash was another movie. I was like, okay, interesting. Driving Miss Daisy. I was like, interesting. Why are these movies coming to the forefront of my mind when I'm thinking about One Battle After Another?
Sure.
And I'm going to make a connection that might feel like a stretch, but I think you might see where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
I think One Battle After Another for me has similar elements of speaking to its political moment, like a Green Book, like a Crash, like a Driving Miss Daisy, where specifically, if we're talking about the racial commentary, I think what One Battle After Another dives into is revolutionary politics and
Sure.
going in a different bent. But it still has elements of this racial commentary. And just tying it into where it might feel like it's saying something that feels a little bit more progressive as it is. But at the same time, you look back on it and you're like, we've reevaluated some of these films and we've seen that they don't, they're like Green Book, for example, I think is still kind of a good movie. Like it's not the worst movie I think I've ever seen. Crash, deplorable. Like that's not a good film. But when I think back on these films, you're like, oh, for that maybe present moment, we got to put our minds to where those voters were, and they're probably, that's lack of diversity in the voting body. But I think now I'm still feeling that same sentiment to One Battle After Another, where I'm like, wow, when I think of Perfidia Beverly Hills, I'm
Sure.
like, there is empowerment there. And when I think of a black exploitation film, she reminds me of a Pam Grier, reminds me of a Kofi. Like I see where maybe PTA has developed this idea and this character design, but also at the same time, I see these issues where it's depicting black women in a way that I'm like, is it as revolutionary, and as it's saying is that it is. And there's people who are detractors of one battle after another and probably stronger and understand it. I'm not like throw the whole baby with the bathwater vibe
Yeah.
to this film. I do think that there's elements of it that I love, but yeah, I have issues with one battle after another. And the more that I watch it, the more that I think about it, the more I say, I think we'll see in a couple of years. I would love to watch this in 5 years and see if its legacy lives up to being the best film of the year. But right now, I struggle to say that, and I would struggle to say that I want it to win more than a Sinners.
Yeah. I think what you're outlining is this the white guilt win of the year, right? There is an element of Green Book or Crash, these films that, especially Crash, that like it solved racism movie. And congratulations, you do not know.
Right.
I am not the right person to comment on how it depicts, especially its black female characters. I do think the dialogue for me, whenever I've read like Van Lathan's piece on it or other people heard people talk about it, it does feel like it misses the Chase Infinity character, it misses the Regina Hall character, but also PTA seems like he misses the Regina Hall character in some ways. And I do feel like some of my complaints around its depiction of black women would have been fixed if Regina Hall's character got more of a beat in that second and third act. I do think that the Chase Infinity character, yeah, really does get missed in a lot of the criticisms here because I think her character is she is the character of the year. If no other choice is the movie to say the most about this year, I think that Chase Infinity's character is the character that says the most about right now. For me, I do see the film as revolutionary in a way, but not because of the French 75, not because of the revolutionaries. I think having a big budget PTA film that says something about the harm being caused to like the Latina community of our current state, that is revolutionary. That it didn't make it a joke about what's happening. Like if we look at this versus Eddington, and I know I'm just bringing Eddington in, but the reason why I do is that they both have these protest scenes. They both have these protest scenes, and one of them felt like a protest I've been to, and one of them felt like a joke of a protest, right? Like the in the streets, standing face to face with the police system in one battle after another felt revolutionary to depict. The Underground Railroad felt revolutionary to depict of this kind of like Benicio del Toro and his crew that felt so well organized. I felt like the depiction of the French 75 had more of a critique about Gen Xers and
Right.
what they did in the revolution, how they showed revolution, and the film itself kind of being an admittance of a Gen Xer himself being like, we messed up. I'm so sorry. It's up to you, right? Like this ending on American Girl, ending on Chase Infinity's character that leaves me feeling in a puddle. Like this movie did emotionally move me, not because of the French 75, but specifically, I cry at this film a few times. And it's all because of Chase Infinity's performance and that character. When she's face to face with Lockjaw in the church, I cry. The second and third time I watched it, I cried when they cut to her when Perfidia is saying 15 years later and the world is still the same, and it cuts to Chase Infinity in the dojo. I cry. And then I also cry at the end when she's like, "Who are you?" near the end. I think that character, what she represents, is so powerful that I would be okay with a win. But I also really do see where you're coming from when it comes to what it's saying versus what the audience is hearing. Because I think the majority of the audience is seeing it as revolutionary because they have revolutionaries I think that makes it so yeah, I don't think it should win. Like I would be okay with it winning, but my vote, if I was a voting member, they haven't invited me yet, would go to Sinners.
Maybe
I
soon.
think maybe soon, but I think that these are the two that number one I think have the highest chance, and the two that say the most about today. Just in a way that sometimes the audiences aren't landing on. Like, just like with the Sinners thing, the two of us think it really says something about today when it comes to a cultural assimilation and appropriation, but there's such a wide audience that's like, it's just a vampire film, right?
Right.
We reduce these things down, and I do think some of One Battle After Another, it gets reduced down in part because they've reduced their characters down.
Right. And I think you're right in saying, and the biggest part, if I had more Regina Hall,
Yeah.
I think that she is this kind of linchpin, and that's what I wrote in my first review and wrote. I think I just continue to say, wow, if she kind of represents this present moment of action,
Yeah.
and this, and I know we kind of see the past in Perfidia and the future, but the present specifically with these three black women, seeing her and the work that she's doing, she gets left out of that conversation. And I think because that happens, that's where I'm like, oh, it reminds me of, like, I don't know why it reminds me of Green Book or Crash or whatever, but it's like you're almost relegating the present moment to hearken to the past and the future and say we should do better, and this is what we've done in the past, but not say as much about the present, which it does say about the present in the Benicio del Toro. I can see where it shifts, but I think that shift is where that critique is for me. But is it still, once again, a technical marvel? Do I really enjoy the performances? I think so. I think it's not even. I can see it winning, and I would not be upset with it winning. Like I don't necessarily will be like so up in arms if One Battle After Another won. I think, once again, what the points that you've made, I think it's still a good movie. But I just was like, I texted that and I was like, should I make this a video? And I've been working on a script, and the podcast feels like a great way to kind of discuss this idea.
I mean, clip it and post it. This will be our first video on our Screen Guide podcast TikTok channel. But no, I love that we can sit with these films, we can pick them apart, right? This tells me that these films are worth the award because they're worth picking apart, right? These two films, especially, which are my two kind of, I would be okay with four winners. The four winners I'd be okay with are Sentimental Value, One Battle After Another, Sinners, and Secret Agent. And I think those final three, One Battle After Another, Sinners, and The Secret Agent, really do speak to this moment. And Oscar wins, when I look back in the history of the Oscars, and I think we're going to start talking about the history of the Oscars in a second, but when I look back and think about the history of the Oscars, my favorite wins are the ones that say something, that are not just like, this made us feel good. Like, I like Coda. I think Coda is a very cute movie, but a Coda win.
It's just High School Musical.
I mean, it does have a final moment that is reminiscent of, but it also made people feel good during the pandemic, right? It said something a little bit about the state of the world, but as a technical achievement, it wasn't there. And like the wins that we're looking at, I think, are both technical achievements and say something, which is great that we have enough options on the lineup that I'm like, that'd be great. That'd be great, right? Like, right now, I think Hamnet is the second most, or the third most likely to win. And personally, for me, it didn't, like, I don't have a interpretation of it that it says something about today. But I saw someone in my comment section be like, a movie that talks about the power of communal healing through art, that is relevant. And for me, that's not how they're advertising it. That's not really the message I get. That's more like individual healing through art when it comes to Agnes and her character. But I love that someone has that interpretation of the movie.
Yeah, well, you didn't see them dancing to "We Found Love." Is it "We Found Love"?
I think it
The
was "We
Rihanna
Found
song.
Love," and yeah,
Yeah,
can't sing
you
that
didn't
because we
see
don't
that.
have. Yeah, I
We
look,
don't.
I saw that, and I also saw the trailer that's like William Shakespeare, and then it cuts into the trailer. Like, this movie, which does make me cry, right? Like, in a movie can emotionally affect me, and also I remember being like seeing it at a festival and like being an hour and a half in being like, I haven't felt anything. Like, this looks pretty and I haven't felt anything. And it wasn't until the family tragedy that I actually started feeling the film. And again, other people, this is their favorite movie of all time, favorite movie of the year. But I do think it's between these two that we just had this longer conversation of Sinners and One Battle After Another.
Yeah. Well, diving into kind of relationship to the Oscars,
Yeah.
uh, what is your relationship? Do you like? You are probably one of the bigger advocates or people that I know who is so aware and tuned in and dialed into not just the Oscars but the award race in general. Has that always been a thing for you? Kind of where that started out for you?
I've always loved the Oscars, and it's something that like my mom and I would watch together. It's something we'd go to like our family friend's house to watch it. I think myself and most of the internet have become a lot more tuned into the precursors as the precursors have been televised, as they've been more kind of talked about. It wasn't always in the way that I talked about it. I wasn't always like nose to the ground when it comes to, or ears to the ground. I guess it's not nose to the ground, ear to the ground when it comes
I mean,
to
that's
what does this ground smell like when it comes to like what these precursors were saying. But I think over the past 5 years, I've really become a lot more tuned in. But my favorite thing about the Oscars and why I think the Oscars matter, why I think they're actually important, is that it gets movies talked about for longer. They remain in the communal kind of conversation. They get seen more. We see movies like Sentimental Value get a bump in rentals and a bump of people going to see them by like 150% sales. Like this is good for cinema to have an award show like this that matters, which is why I think like an F1 nomination or a bigger like an Avatar nomination matters, because we have to have movies that people care about. K-pop Demon Hunters. We have to have movies that people care about in order to get these award shows still seen. But that's why I love them, is that they allow the little movies like Nickel Boys from last year, a movie that not a lot of people saw. It got more eyes once it got the nomination. And so I've always loved them. Over the past 5 years, love them even more. And as I've become a content creator, I have found that talking about the Oscars brings people together for conversation in a way that none of my like film history videos do. None of my like, just here's my review of a certain movie. Like people care. It's almost like the sportsification of movies in some way, which I think I have some negative feelings about.
Yeah.
But I also think it really locks people into dialogue.
Yeah. No, I think the Oscars is something that it's so fascinating. I think
Yeah.
that sportsification has been part of the reason why I like it, because I kind of grew up playing sports, love the sports aspect, and so I like to quantify things to a degree. Like
Yeah.
you quantify how one performance versus another? No, not really. It's subjective, but I think what it does say though is it says something about what people or the industry is saying about these performances, or what they find to be relevant at the time. Like you're saying, going back to the award should mean something, like the best picture should say something about the present moment. I think every win says something about the present moment, because they are a voting body who's voting for this person. So if it's, let's say, do the right thing not even being nominated for something, I think it says something about what the voting body and the industry is like at the time, and so 2026 Sinners being 16 nominations, it says something about where the industry in Hollywood is at, because oftentimes the conversation is like, oh, this is Hollywood, and sometimes I'm like, I think you think Hollywood is from the days of old. Like they're still, it's not perfect. I'm not, when I say Hollywood, but I once again think the rise of independent filmmaking and the rise of things like Neon, who might be just buying up all the Cannes films, but like there is this conversation that's a lot larger and bigger, and the Oscars is a precursor to that. And also I think some of these other award shows as well, not just the Oscars, are getting more love. Golden Globes I know is growing. People understand, like even knowing about the DGA or the WGA, I think those social media has been a part of, like, oh, i didn't I didn't really care about those before, but now I care why that matters, and how it can help us understand just where the industry's at.
And where the world is at. One of my favorite not my favorite wins. I have my five favorite wins, but some of my favorite wins to look at are the wins around large national or international events. So like the wins specifically around World War II are very interesting to me. Looking at a Mrs. Miniver win, happening during the war, 1942, where people are home from the war, the people who are being bombed are being focused on. Then right after that, we have Casablanca, the people who are either prisoners of war stuck in places, or the spies trying to fight back against the evils of the war, getting awarded. After that, we have the long weekend, the Lost Weekend, which is like a movie that doesn't necessarily say about the moment, but it is one of one of the best versions of alcoholism depicted on screen ever. It's a social movie. And then we go right back to war films, 1946. We have The Best Years of Our Lives, this movie that is saying, like, okay, we have brought these people back from war. What else do we do? And so, I don't, when I say I think a movie always should say something, it's just that those things I think tell us about history. One of my favorite classes in school was like theater history and how it relates to what's happening in the world. Uh, but I just think it's so interesting to think about what was happening in the world when these things win, just like the Coda win or the Nomadland win, and what it says about COVID-19. Um,
Yeah. I like that your picks have a lot more meaning to them because my top five like Oscar winners of all time are kind of just like I like this movie a lot.
no, I'll say I say this that I want them to win, but I was looking at my top five and I was like, do any of these say something about the world, or are these just vibes? Because
Right.
I'm looking at my list right now and I'm like, one of them maybe says something about the state of the world.
Yeah.
Two of them have social commentary, and the rest are just like, fuck yeah, that's a good movie.
Right. Because I mean, but I think that's also the part of the Oscars, and we could talk about film in general. It's you kind of have to find that balance.
yeah.
I think why a One Battle After Another or Sinners is they could just say stuff, and there's movies that just say something about the world, but those are almost documentaries as opposed to narrative feature films that bring you into this world and this space that help you to reflect in a way that's entertaining. Like
Yeah.
it's entertainment, and so yeah, I'm thinking about Everything Everywhere All at Once. One of my favorite Best Picture
Here we go.
winners. It does say something about the immigrant experience, and also is still relevant today. And
Generational trauma,
generational,
queerness. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it says a lot of stuff, and it's just a lot of fun. And I think that to me is like, oh, that's a great Best Picture winner. Or thinking about No Country for Old Men, what does that really say other than it has a really cool villain? I don't know.
So I want to take a moment to like think about the movies you're mentioning and say where I have them in my ranking. Because you're naming all of these great films. And what I love about the Oscars is when you look at 97 different movies throughout the film history, the two of us are going to feel differently about them. Everything Everywhere All at Once, I have in my 28th spot. Amazing film. I have it in 28th. You said No Country for Old Men. That's my 10th favorite. Like these are two in your top five, and I don't have them in my top five, and I kind of love that. Do you want to go back and forth and compare where we have them, or not
Yeah,
compare, but like
yeah. Let's
say we have?
let's
Uh,
go. Let's see.
cool, 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 cool. So my next one, I'll go my fifth. I'm going back in time. I'm going the first film to win the Big Five at the Academy Awards. It Happened One Night is my fifth favorite Best Picture winner.
Is that Frank Capra?
Frank Capra, the asshole. But I mean, this has it's so fun. It's also like a pre-code win. It's the first comedy to win Best Picture. And it's the blueprint for the rom-com, the will they, won't they. I just think that this film is so fun. Have you seen this one?
I haven't yet. It's been on the list. I think it's in the Criterion Collection.
Criterion
I think
Collection on disc on the
yeah.
website always. That's my fifth. And do you have Everything Everywhere All at Once at your fifth?
So, in the heat of the night, I have it fifth, just because it says something about the present moment. Sidney Poitier is incredible in this film, gives an amazing performance, and specifically, there's a moment in this film where you've seen this film, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Where he's this cop that's from the north comes to this kind of southern town, and it has dynamics not only of just racial tension but also big cities and smaller cities as well, and it's kind of communication there. But he comes in to this town and he's talking to I forget if it's like a police commissioner or this other uh, like big town guy. He's there with other police officers, and this white guy slaps Sidney Poitier, and in return slaps him right back. And
Right
it's
back.
like
Yeah, yeah.
one of the best scenes like of all time. But I just love the writing. I love the intentionality of this film, and I love that it won Best Picture because it does it kind of reduce racial politics a little bit. Yes, like when you look back on movies like that, you're like, okay, like is it as progressive as it could be? No, but like for the time period, crazy that this came out in 1967 during, pivotal parts of the civil rights movement. I think is really cool. So that's my fifth spot film for me.
Yeah, I love this one. I have this in 20th in my ranking between Departed and One Flew. I just think that this movie is so good, and the Poitier performance is maybe my favorite performance of his. I have in my fourth spot the movie that got me into movies, Silence of the Lambs.
Ooh. All right, all right.
Yeah,
I like that pick.
I mean, the camera work here is the real star. I mean, the script is great. I don't think this is the best portrayal of the Hannibal Lecter character, right? Like, I think I'd rather watch Matt Mikkelsen's play the role, or even like Brian Cox play the role in Manhunter. But I think it's Jonathan Demme's camera work and the way that he uses the psychology of Clarice Starling and the role of this woman in this world and how it uses eyes to put us in the kind of position of Clarice Starling. So this is my fourth favorite. It's like, what's your star ranking for this
Yeah.
one?
I s- I think I have it at four,
Okay,
maybe four and a half. It's
nice.
been a minute since I've watched it. I would need to reevaluate it, but I don't have any really bad thoughts about it. I genuinely do like the film. So I like Silence of the Lambs. I like that that's in your fourth spot. My fourth spot, I think I'm going to say is Amadeus.
Nice.
I really enjoy the character work in Amadeus. I honestly don't. Who's the main character? Who's
That's played by
or
Tom
actor?
Hulce is the main
Tom
character,
Hulse. Yeah,
and Amadeus is played by Tom Hulce, and then F. Murray Abraham plays Salieri.
yeah. And I love the character work in the film. I love the just the movie. I remember watching it and being like, "Whoa, this is like I." It's three. Is it three? No, it's not 3 hours long, but it's a
It's
longer
long.
ish movie.
Yeah, no, it's definitely
Um,
up there in length.
but I don't feel that runtime. It really works for me. So that's what I have at the fourth spot. It's a beautiful film. Love the character study in it.
Love
Do
that.
you have? Do you love it, or do you?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't.
no, 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 no. This is my sixth favorite Best Picture winner of all time. Like, it's
The way
just out
it
of my
sounded,
top
I was like,
five.
I don't know if you like it or not. Like I
No,
was like, oh
no.
no.
No, big fan of Amadeus. I mean, so I grew up with the play. I saw the play at a young age. I did a stage reading, played Salieri in a stage reading in college because the play is just an amazing adaptation. And I think that this movie is a near perfect. I think it's a great pick. So going to my third one is All About Eve is my third favorite. This is a Mankiewicz film. I love the female relationships here. I think that the script is really solid. This and my first favorite pick are like two of my favorite scripts of all time. And man, it I know you were a fan of Lurker last year. This is what Lurker, like, I loved Lurker, but this is proto Lurker.
Whoa,
This
not too much on
is
Lurker.
no, no, no.
No,
This is
no.
this is like anything you like
Proto
about
Lurker. Okay,
Lurker.
I like that. I like that. I
Like
got
All
you. I
About
got
Eve
you.
is that, and like Mankiewicz just kills it. So, is this a film that you've seen?
I have not yet, but that if there's any movie that I'm like is at the top of classic films for me that I need to see, All
Yeah.
About Eve is one that I need to keep an eye out for more than I than I do. It
It's
should
on the
be a movie I should
Criterion.
watch.
It's on Criterion Collection. I don't know if it's on the website itself, but the 4K is just beautiful.
It's so good. Well, the third spot, I believe we're at three.
Yep.
I have Everything Everywhere All at Once. That's
Nice.
where I have this film. We talked about it. It just says so much
Yeah.
while also not feeling so. I think with a movie like this where genres can mesh, and I love a movie that blends genres, as we started off the podcast saying, it doesn't get lost in its own sauce. I think it says something, and I can follow its lines and say, okay, I love this. I love where it's going with this. I love what it's saying about generational differences and trauma there, and I love that it's what it's saying about uh, immigrant relationships and everything about it. The pun intended is really, really technically executed.
Yeah, no,
So that's
it's
what I have at the third. You like the
no,
pun?
yeah, I like the pun, and I like the pick. Again, it's a 28th for me. I think that this is a phenomenal movie, and I really hate this trend of like once a movie gets big, once it like this happened with Anora, this happens with One Everywhere, Everywhere, All at Once. People just start hating on it because it won, or people turn on it because it's like almost going to win. And I think that like some of the criticism is valid, but it really does feel like a lot of bad faith arguments about this film. It's just it's so cool that a movie like this could come out in February or March and win a year later, covering what it covers, both its topics and then like how fun and execution it is. I'll be really interested in to see what these directors do next. Uh, number two. Number two. Now this is a personal pick. This is a pick that I realize has a lot of flaws. I'm going with West Side Story as my second favorite win. The original. I think this just ties my roots as a former actor. I love a Technicolor musical. I really have issues with the casting. You know, having all these white people play non-white people is, as we say now, not it.
You
Like
don't
it.
you don't like that? You didn't
Yeah,
like
not a big fan. I won't stand on that, but I will stand
right,
on
right.
how visually stunning this movie is, how powerful the music is, the choreography, everything. This is, I think, one of the greatest movie musicals of all time, and I can't have it lower on the list. There are definitely movies that have aged better, but when it comes to what this movie makes me feel, like it's just all the feelings.
That's such a good. That's a good pick. Can I steal it?
Yeah, you can steal it, but what do you got at number two?
Um, at number two for me, I have similar to you saying a personal pick. I have Gladiator.
Okay,
Gladiator is a movie that it, it feels very basic in saying Gladiator is one of my favorite movies of all time. But Gladiator is one of my favorite movies of all time.
good.
This is a movie that me and my father specifically have
Mm.
watched a ton. This is one of his favorite movies, um, and really awoke me. Uh, I can't say it, but it stirred up something in me about
You said it.
film that made me emotional. Like I remember crying at in Gladiator, uh, just watching the film and being moved by the score, especially and the music and uh, this idea of redemption and fighting for what's been lost, and it it's Ridley Scott's best film. To me, I know a lot of people will say Alien or Blade Runner. I think Gladiator. I don't know why we made a second one. I don't know why we did, but
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean,
yeah, just Maximus as Russell Crowe was fantastic. Joaquin Phoenix as Commodus, incredible. Two of my favorite performances of all time. Gladiator was just it's such a good film.
it's good. I have it at 41 in my ranking, and I want to apologize in advance for that. I really like this film. I like this film. I have it between My Fair Lady and The Hurt Locker in my ranking. I find that sometimes Ridley's exaggerative, like the wheat fields of it all, sometimes detract
Mhm.
from my experience with it. But I completely understand the personal connection there. And again, this is like top half of Best Picture winners. Okay, my number one Best Picture of all time.
Can I
Oh,
can I guess what your number one's going to be, Daniel?
you can. I will say. I mean, we're friends, so you've probably heard me talk about it. But I'll be impressed. I'll pretend like you're like reading my mind here. What do you got?
Okay, if you don't know who Daniel is, Daniel Film Therapy, there is a movie that first not just movie, a director that he loves. He has mentioned this on the podcast already. Billy Wilder is his favorite director of all time, and a movie that he loves is The Apartment. And I feel like this is going to be your pick for number one. There just would not be a just world in which you did not put this as your number one Best Picture winner, and it's one of your favorite movies of all time. So I don't even know how it would not be on this list. So that's going to be my choice for you. Am I correct in saying that?
You are correct. Yeah, The Apartment is my number one best picture. I feel seen, I feel heard
Let's
and
go.
listened to. I just think that this is the best example of a script and a direction working together in tandem in one. Like that's what I love about Billy Wilder so much as a director is how much the words and the camera movement and everything just feel like they're in a dance. And this has two of my favorite performances of all time. It also has my favorite depiction of mental health crisis of all time. The ending is everything. I just really love this. This is a perfect sick day movie. It's a perfect New Year's movie. It's a perfect movie. And there, I mean, there are movies that people will be surprised I didn't mention, but I don't think anyone is going to be surprised that The Apartment is my number one.
And so, do I get an award for guessing it correctly? Do I get
Yeah,
to be a part like on
your
Steelbook?
award is guessing your or telling me your favorite of it.
Yeah. So you want to guess mine? Do you want to
Uh,
try that? You want to?
uh, I can try. um,
Come on, you know me. Yeah. What do
yeah,
you think I'm
yeah. I
gonna go
mean,
for?
we have Crash. Is that okay? That's my first guess. Uh,
Okay. All right. Never
let's
mind then.
go. Sidney Pollock's Out
So
of Africa.
that's crazy. That's pointed. Um. Anyway, we're going to say so we can spare Daniel the you know the the misery of
I mean,
is
look. Do you
misery
want me
even
to
correct? I don't
guess?
know.
Are we
I feel
going?
like you might know.
Okay, so I think I'm going to use context clues of a video that you did, I think, over the summer, where I believe I could be wrong here. I think you did say that Barry Jenkins's Moonlight is your favorite Best Picture winner.
I might have said that, and I actually it was between two of them. So I'm gonna give kudos to you because I actually
Okay.
probably did say that in that video because Moonlight I think was I was trying to say in that video probably is that it's so well deserved and it's probably it needs to like the when I watched it I was like I love La La Land but Moonlight is also it's the best picture winner like that feels for the time everything that we just talked about why Oscars are important. I love Moonlight. But the winner that I have is actually Parasite, which once again, going back to basic picks, I it's really hard for me to not get on board with someone who just doesn't I like not saying doesn't like it. I've yet to meet a person who doesn't like Parasite, like which is kind of crazy to say. It's one of the few movies that I'm like, oh, have I really? Is someone a hater? So if you're a hater and you're listening to the podcast, please let me know. I would love to to see who you are. But Parasite and why I even love movies like No Other Choice speak to class vision. They speak to the present moment and our technical marvels and achievements. And it, it's really hard for me to think of a Best Picture winner that just is so good. Like you're just so
Yeah.
in. It's a thriller. It's saying something. The score, everything comes together to in, to craft this film in a way that I'm like, I can't get enough of it. I can rewatch this tomorrow and still say it's good. I think it's timeless. It's probably, I think for me, out of the Best Picture winners, will stand the test of time the longest. Than any other film. Like you could watch this 50 to 100 years from now and say, "Wow, that was a really good movie." And it's really hard sometimes to say that about some of these other films, like we mentioned, Crash.
Yeah, Crash
So
is our punching bag of this episode,
truly,
which it
it doesn't
deserves
get
it.
punched down enough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it doesn't.
So that's my number one. I think I love your five, and I loved your kind of insights into what make your best picture winners you and how they speak to you because I think that's what they should be. Like I think when you're thinking about your favorite Oscar winners or even favorite movies, you should be able to maybe articulate, what you love and but also what you don't like about um, some of these films. Like I still have some issues with some of these movies, but they still really makes it a really good movie at the end
Yeah.
of the day, and what we love about them.
100%. Even my favorite movie, I can say something that I think doesn't work in it. But yeah, Parasite's great. Have that at number 9. Moonlight, if you had picked that, I have that at number 8. These are two of the best movies to ever win Best Picture. But you're right, like saying something about the films, having a point of view of it. That's what we're going to be doing here. That is our goal for this podcast. Today we were a little bit more loosey goosey talking about the Oscars coming up. Before the Oscars, we'll be doing our own Oscars predictions. So you can follow along to see what we get right, what we get wrong, who has a higher percentage rate. But our kind of main plan for this podcast is to be talking about movies, like if there's a wide release that has like multiple movies that are kind of connected, and then putting them both in the context of when they're being made today and also movies that relate to them in the past. So whether it is a loose connection or a specifically like this is the exact same plot, we want to be talking about movies in a way that deepens our connection to film in general. This was such a great first episode here with you, Derrick. I'm curious, what do you think that people should be expecting from the Film Guide Pod looking forward?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of fun. I love talking movies with Daniel. He's one of he has some of the best insight into film. Not just on Film Talk or Instagram. No. I'm being truthful. Like you probably hearing on this pod just his love for film, but also his rich knowledge and history of film in general. So speaking to him is really fun. And so know that you're going to get more film history. You're going to get more film recommendations that are not just the run of the mill films. Like there'll be a lot of independent features, global films, classics that you can expect from this podcast, and a lot of talking about them in a rich and deep and meaningful way, because it is that deep. If people want to make it not that deep out there, that's great. But this podcast, we're going to be diving into these movies and trying to make connections and give context to these movies in a way that I think is insightful and also will keep you coming back for more.
Yeah, 100%. And, down the line, we plan on branching out. We plan on kind of carrying over what we've been known for on social media when it comes to the live drafts that we've done or the rankings that we've done or any of those kind of like more loosey-goose live streams, that we hope to bring in some of our friends that we've made in the online spaces to talk about movies too. Like we hope to not just have this be a two-person conversation, but fold in our friends if there's a specific movie that they're excited for. I'm thinking about the drama coming out, bringing in Lewis Likes Movies to talk about the drama when it comes to like romances, or if Paddington 4 comes out, bringing in Raggle Fraggle, kind of like highlighting that. And yeah, I mean, it'll happen. But like, as long as we get Paul King back in the director's chair. But I want people to know that this is not just a Daniel and Derrick project, although we're helming it. This is a project that continues to not only deepen our relationship, but also show the connective tissue with these kind of content creators that care so deeply about movies. And so right now we're going to be starting kind of with like a loose release schedule, kind of covering things that we have time for. But over time, we're going to become a lot more structured. And what I love is that all of you are going to be here on the ground floor. We're going to hopefully be folding you all in. If there's like a letterbox review, that if you talk about a movie that we're watching, we're hoping that you guys will send us your reviews and all of that. And we hope to really celebrate the community. But in the meantime, you can follow us on the socials that we'll have for the Screen Guide Pod. We're going to be on all the social media platforms. And you should also follow Derrick Simiviews on Letterboxd, on TikTok, on Instagram, on YouTube Shorts, all of these places where you can follow Derrick. Because, we're going to be covering our own stuff as well. We're not moving away from our solo content either.
No, just bringing it to this collaborative space. And I love that you said that. We're collabing. We're going to bring in more and more voices. And we want these voices to just be on a platform that you get to hear more of our thoughts in a more in-depth way. So excited to bring more of that to you guys on here.
Yeah, and you can also follow me if you want. Daniel Film Therapy.
Yeah,
we're on the YouTubes, we're on the TikToks, the Instagrams. I've been Daniel,
and I've been Derrick.
Thanks for listening to the Screen Guide Podcast.